All right, everybody. Welcome to it says week 8 in the recap, but that's wrong. That would be a week 9 recap because we are now in week 10. I'm joined here by Rob. How you doing today, Rob?
What's going on, Nick? Doing all right. We had a good week last week. We hit in a couple spots, missed in a couple spots, but collectively we were on target.
We're there. We're we're in the room where it happened. You know what I mean? We're just not quite standing up on stage just yet. What a horrible analogy that was. I was trying to do like a little Hamilton thing. Are you a fan of musical theater, Rob?
I'm not, sorry.
I wasn't either until more recently, but yeah, we're sniffing it. I got 4th in a showdown tournament last night at about 7K. Same process I've been using all year, so that's encouraging. One click process, not fudging the numbers at all, just trusting the projections and math. So that's good. Some more recap stuff. I took receipts, Rob. I'm gonna be honest with you. We said some wild stuff last week. Your big take was Justin Fields. I didn't like it, and I look awful because if you didn't have Justin Fields last week, it was really hard to win a lot of money. Whereas you kind of poo-pooed Devontae Adams, which if it was just a second half story with him, you would have been right. But he's had 30 points basically in the first half. So collectively, those are 2 big hits for us, but individually, we each missed on those. I think the Justin Fields miss is worse because I was on a quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, that scored half the points that he did. He scored about 42. Devontae Adams was in 30, burying the lead a little bit. The number 1 guy, Joe Mixon, another guy you had to have 58 points on DraftKings, 5 touchdowns. That is why we follow the numbers because his usage has been like on graphs. He's up in the top right corner. High efficiency, high pass volume, high red zone looks. Everything is just popping off the charts, and it finally came home to roost this week. So, any thoughts about week 9? Were you on Joe Mixon and Justin Fields? Because if you were, you probably made a lot of money.
No, I mean, we talked about Joe Mixon last week, and I was fading him for the very reasons you just described, that his efficiency just hasn't been there yet, and I've been wanting to see the wait and see approach, but you never think the wait and see approach is going to be a 58-point game. I was kind of maybe hoping for more of a 25, 30-point game. I did have him in one lineup. That lineup did okay, but man, if I had him in some more of those Justin Fields lineups, I could have won substantially more money last week. But so is the beast of daily fantasy. Hindsight is 2020.
Yeah. So take us through some verification stats. You run the numbers. It's a huge benefit, folks. We need to start publishing some of these verifications, a little bit more of like maybe a long form article, some type of blog post. I don't know, because it's really cool because Rob can go back and say, all right, if we were just to play our optimal in the Millie Maker, which we don't have the bankroll to do 150 in that yet. Let's say we run 10. If I had run 10 with my optimal player pool last week that I posted on Instagram, Rob, how would I have done?
So you would have smashed it. I mean, you wouldn't be a millionaire, Nick, but I did run the numbers. So if you had ran 10 lineups with your optimals, and let's just for fun's sake that you decided to go with my take on Justin Fields and you locked him into every lineup, your average lineup would have put up 216 points per lineup, with your biggest lineup putting up 228.8 points. So with 10 entries in the Millie Maker, you would have won $2,200 for a $2,000 profit after the $200 in entry fees. So, yeah, I mean, those projections were on point last week. You would have had a lot of Joe Mixon.
Yeah. So I say that to say, like, I wasn't on what I needed to be on in order to win that. I also wasn't playing in the Millie Maker just because it's expensive. I stay at the lowest stakes, just hammering out the process. But if you're following along on that Instagram post, I think, like I said in the post, those are the pieces that you need to win. And I wasn't on Justin Fields and I still had a good day. That's the thing. Like you can miss out on some of these big scores, especially when there's multiple big scores. Like Devontae Adams was a big score. Tyreek Hill was a big score. Those were guys that we recommended. Justin Fields was a big score. Joe Mixon. So like you didn't have to have all of those guys. It was actually probably very difficult for you to have all of those in your lineup just with salary. So that's week 9, forward-thinking show. We're going to move at a fast pace. We're going to start going game by game, starting with Lions and Bears. Let's talk about Justin Fields. It's in the description. what do we got here? Is Justin Fields an absolute lock? He's Mike Vick reincarnated. He had 178 rushing yards, the most rushing yards for a QB in a single game of all time, which is surprising. Is Justin Fields in a lot of your lineups this week, Rob?
Yeah, I'm thinking about going back to that well. Like, how can you not? His salary has gone up significantly low. He's at 6,500. But if Justin Fields keeps at this pace, there's a good chance he starts getting into that Lamar Jackson category. We might not see him this cheap ever again. The way I'm going to approach this game is if I'm not playing Justin Fields, I'm playing David Montgomery, and I'm not playing both. This Lions defense is awful. I think they're going to give up some points to the Bears. It's just a matter of who they're going to give them up to. If the Bears get up early, I mean, do they really want to be running Justin Fields as much as he was last week? He might not have the ceiling game he had last week. I think he'll do pretty good, but if it's not him, I'd like to go David Montgomery because his ownership right now is pretty low. He's under 5%, and he's in a good matchup as well, and he's one of the cheaper running backs on the slate this week. So those are kind of the two guys I got my eye on for this game, on the Bears side at least. Detroit's side's not looking too pretty. I mean, just like every week, you can go Amon-Ra St. Brown or maybe even Jamal Williams in this matchup. What do you think?
So I'm not on Justin Fields this week. I can share my screen here. Got some nice color for everybody just to show kind of where we're at. Let's see, share that. Let's get rid of those. Boom. All right. So the players that I like here in green, Jamal Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Khalif Raymond for Detroit. Detroit is coming in at almost bottom 3 in opponent rank versus the rush. You can see that here. Let me zoom in for the people even better. Let's make these a little bit bigger. Live formatting. Boom. All right. So optimal exposure, 16%. So we really like David Montgomery in this game, and that's just because the Lions are an absolute sieve. Also like Khalil Herbert. I might put my thumb on the scale a little bit just because I think he's a pretty explosive player. So I'm okay with having a little bit of both of these two players just because, like, as you can see here, the Lions are absolutely getting gashed on the run. You're not going to get Jamal Williams by anybody. He's about 14% on the slate, 14% ownership. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to be popular, and just a full fade here on Justin Fields. I think it's because he's not projecting quite as well as he should, but I mean, that salary's coming up a little bit. I don't know. This is a tough one for me because I got burnt so bad fading Justin Fields last week. If the optimal says fade, I'm going to fade. So that's my take on that. Any other takes on this game that you're interested in?
I mean, if you're not going Justin Fields, a good way to get leverage because I think he'll be popular this week. He might be one of the most popular QB plays of the season in terms of ownership. I like Justin Fields to get different. Like you said, he's got a good leverage there. So that's kind of my biggest take on this game.
All right. Let's move on to the next game. Browns Dolphins. This one might be a little fun. I don't know. Both solid teams. Maybe a little bit more solid than we thought coming into the year. Let me sort for the correct teams here. While I do, tell me what you're seeing in this game, Rob.
Man, this game is really attractive, and there's a lot of different things you can do in this game. One of the highest totals on the slate. We got right around 49 points for the over-under. The Dolphins' offense has been smashing this season, and their defense, they've just been an absolute pass funnel defense all season long. So, I mean, there's a lot of options in this game, right? If that Dolphins' offense gets off to a hot start and they're up big and, the Browns are chasing them, I really like Amari Cooper in this game. A lot of the wide receivers you'll see on the main slate this week, their salaries have come up to where they should be. We got a lot of guys over 8,000. You can get Amari Cooper for 6,500 this week. His ownership right now, I have him right around 7%. In a game that could shoot out, in a game where I would expect the Browns to be playing from behind. I think some of these receiving core options are very interesting options. Even if you wanted to get weird with DPJ, that's another route you could go. But if you wanted to get away from the receiving game and pivot a little bit, I'm looking at Nick Chubb for this game. He's expensive at 8,100, but he's only at 3% owned right now. And anytime Nick Chubb is 3% owned in a game where the over/under is 49 and the Browns have looks like 23 for 23 points for an implied total. You know, you could get massive leverage there if Nick Chubb has a Nick Chubb game. And then, of course, you know, on the Miami side, it's basically Tua, Waddle, Tyreek Hill. You can't go wrong with those guys. They're just going to be expensive.
Yeah, so the total line on the game is pushing 50 points overall in Vegas. The Miami Dolphins are projected for over 26 points. And it seems like Cleveland should be able to put points on the board as well. They're projected for about 22 points implied team total according to the Vegas spread. We like a lot of players in this game. We really like Tyreek, Jeff Wilson, and Kareem Hunt. I'm guessing Kareem Hunt down at 5,300 is really just price sensitive. A really good play according to our optimals. Nick Chubb is a positive leverage player as well, but less so, just at that 8,100. I mean, the difference between these two in usage is not reflected correctly in their salary. So I think that's a bit of a pricing inefficiency. Kareem Hunt has had the game where he's the one to have in that backfield. Nick Chubb is clearly the better runner. But yeah, I like Kareem Hunt. He's the pass down guy, so this game might shoot out a little bit, and we definitely want Kareem Hunt. That's probably where the projections are going, and that's why we have Kareem Hunt as a huge leverage play this week on the field, which will only be playing him at, it looks like, around 1%, 1% of lineup. So that could change. Also, Cleveland D is kind of popping up a little bit, which is interesting. They're 2,300. I feel like for me, the optimals always are recommending these low price defenses, and it's been working out. So yeah, I do like that. Yes, another play here, Trent Sherfield, for some reason. I mean, I'm not really sure what's going on here, but he's going to end up being about 5% owned, it looks like. Positive leverage score. Are you getting any Trent Sherfield of all people?
No, I have him at really low ownership, but I mean, he's a large field GPP play only. He's a wide receiver 3 on that team. And, you know, it's a situation where if, you know, I'm not sure if Denzel Ward's playing, but if one of those Miami wide receivers gets locked down and Tua wants to go somewhere else, Trent Sherfield has he's shined a couple times this season. He had some flashy games. You know, his ceiling is going to be low, but at 3,300, you don't need him to score that many points to get your worth, and that can allow you to spend up on some other guys elsewhere. So I'm always down to spend down for a wide receiver, especially in an offense like this that could be scoring a lot of points.
Yeah. Here's a good sign. Rob and I are new at this, so trying to get better every week. When we start talking about Trent Sherfield, it's time to move on to the next game. So that's what we're going to do. We got Broncos, Titans. The Titans coming off a huge upset. I mean, we say upset, but they're one of the best coached teams in all of the NFL. Say what you want about Mike Vrabel, but he gets his guys ready to play with Malik Willis, who is not an NFL quarterback right now. That we probably could have seen. Mike Vrabel is not shy about the way he feels about Malik Willis, and he shows it in his play calling. Just give it to Derrick Henry and let him rock. But like I said, we got Denver. Denver is projected here for a hold on here.
I got him at 18 points.
18 points. Okay. Projected team score. I have them both at it's because I only have Tennessee up here. All right, folks. Like I said, we're just getting okay. Boom. All right. Yep. So you have him at 18 points. The guy that's popping the most for me in this game is wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. Not a super high line on this game, but Jerry Jeudy is popping a lot. He's not going to get played very much. Everyone's down on Russ Wilson. I really like Jerry Jeudy this week. Is there anyone else you like here? And I'm just going to be off camera for a second. I'll be right back while you tell the people what you like in this game.
Yeah, there's really only one play for me in this game. Actually, two. I got one on both sides. On the Titans, obviously, there's only one player on that offense. Basically, the entire offense has been running through Derrick Henry. I think he'll probably be pretty chalky this week. I think I got his ownership right now, right around 20%. But it is Derrick Henry season. It's November. It's the time of year where these guys in the secondary, they've been taking hits, and when Derrick Henry comes flying out of the backfield, it's going to be tough for them to tackle him. So I like him in this matchup. The Broncos defense, the one susceptible part of it has been their rush defense. They've had a pretty strong pass defense so far this year. So it's not a great matchup for them defensively. So I'm liking Derrick Henry on the Titans side. On the Broncos side, that offense has just been a train wreck. But one bright spot has been kind of the rise of Greg Dulcich. And at 3,400, I like him in this matchup. He's been seeing some good targets and some scoring opportunities in the red zone. So even in a low scoring game, if I'm going to anyone on Denver, I'm willing to spend 3,400 on Dolchich.
Yeah, Dulcich is definitely in play. He's getting a lot of targets as a rookie. Really athletic tight end. Unfortunately, I have a negative leverage score on him. It's pretty high negative leverage score. So it seems like the field's going to be on him a little bit more than what is optimal. It's an interesting decision to make. I'm just going to be a little bit underweight on him. You mentioned Derrick Henry. Again, people are going to play him a little bit more than the optimal suggests. And on those weeks, I typically fade Derrick Henry. I like playing Derrick Henry when no one's on him. Other than that, not a whole lot to love in this game. Like I said, 38-point total. So should be lower scoring because Tennessee will want to run the ball. Like you said, Denver's offense has been a bit anemic so far this year. So good time to move on from that game as well. All right, Vikings-Bills. This one could be exciting. Two really good teams. The Vikings, I believe, are 7-1. And the Bills obviously just lost to the Jets and a bit of a surprise loss. We did talk about that Jets defense last week, Rob, being very, very stingy. We were probably a week early on that in terms of the way we were talking about the Jets D. I actually did downgrade Josh Allen in my projections just because I thought the matchup was a lot worse than what people were considering. And I feel pretty good about that process decision. For this game, who do you like, Bills, Vikings, and any read on if Josh Allen is going to start?
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't practiced this week, and I saw some notifications on my phone earlier that he was expected to practice today, and then it came back 15 minutes later that he wasn't practicing. So this is definitely something to monitor as we head into Sunday. Even if he does play, I mean, I'm a little nervous about how effective he's going to be if he has an elbow injury in his throwing arm. I mean, on a regular day, I'd love Josh Allen in this matchup in a fairly competitive game against the Vikings, a team whose pass defense has been okay this season, but I think they're 25th in adjusted points allowed to quarterbacks this season. So it would be a great matchup for him if he's healthy. Now, in the event that Case Keenum is playing, he's kind of an interesting option too. I mean, this offense has some weapons. He's probably a viable backup. We saw him take Minnesota on a run in the playoffs a few years ago. And let's not forget, he has some rapport with Stephon Diggs. So even if Allen doesn't play, I might be interested in Stephon Diggs if Case Keenum, has to step in and, who knows, maybe Diggs gets peppered with a ton of targets because it's a guy that Case Keenum is familiar with. So I think whether or not Josh Allen plays, I think Stephon Diggs could be a really good option this week for the Bills.
Yeah, Minnesota's defense is popping as the top play in this game. For me, that makes sense given that they're probably projecting a Case Keenum start. I'm with you, though. Case Keenum is the quintessential take care of the ball distributor, game manager. And with the playmakers on this team, I think the way that the offense is structured, like they could still have success. So I'm also seeing plenty of Stephon Diggs. We're going to monitor those projections because I do anticipate that if Josh Allen is declared out, everybody on both sides of the ball will probably come down a little bit in their projection. You'll probably see the line move. I mean, player injuries usually don't move Vegas lines unless it's a quarterback like Aaron Rodgers. Josh Allen is one of those players. So if the line isn't already baking in the possibility of him not playing, you're going to see the total come down. You're going to see probably Minnesota be the favorite. Right now, they're 4-point underdogs at 19 points implied team total. Bills are 23-point implied team total. So it's hard for me to have a strong take on this game until we know more about Josh Allen, but make sure you check out the player pool, and that will kind of tell you everything you need to know. Case Keenum could make it if he's projected for 15, 16 points at a low salary option. I'm in, but we'll see. All right, next game, we got the Texans and the Giants. Go ahead and talk us through your thoughts on this game, Rob.
Yeah, so I mean, not a really exciting game in terms of the Vegas totals right now. Over under average across a few sports books right now is coming around 41 points, with the Giants having being the 5-point favorites. This could be a big Dameon Pierce, Saquon Barkley game. A lot of rushes. Probably a very chalky game for Saquon Barkley. Houston got absolutely gashed by Derrick Henry last week. And Saquon Barkley is one of the best running backs in the league, so he'll be very chalky, and he's the most expensive running back on the slate, rightfully so. He's someone I'd probably be willing to spend up for. I like a lot of the high-priced running backs this week, but he's a good option in this game, and even maybe Daniel Jones too at 5,700. He's got some rushing upside. He's probably got a high floor. So if you want to spend down a quarterback to spend up elsewhere, I don't hate that option. But on Houston's side, Dameon Pierce, he's looked great this year. He had a great game last week, and not a very favorable matchup. This week probably not a whole lot better. But if the Texans can manage to stay in this game, he could be a good option at only 6,300. He's one of the cheaper running backs you'll get this week, who's also going to get a lot of volume as well.
Yeah, I'm getting a ton of Davis Mills, surprisingly. Are you seeing him pop up at all? I think he doesn't project all that well. Not really sure what's going on with that.
Yeah, the only thing you got going for you with Davis Mills is that he's 5,100, right? So he doesn't need to score. He doesn't need to score a lot of points to get you there. That could be a byproduct of him being one of the cheaper quarterbacks on the slate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, similarly, I do have a positive leverage score on Daniel Jones as well. So the two positive leverage scores in this in this game are actually the quarterbacks, Davis Mills and Daniel Jones. Dameon Pierce is a good play. He's just going to be super chalky. So if you're playing him, you need to be careful elsewhere. Saquon Barkley, again, price sensitive. He's tough to fit in, but the Houston ranks dead last in opponent ranking against the run. So I probably will have plenty of Saquon Barkley this week. Other than that, just thinking more deeply about this game, Wan'Dale Robinson, again, he's going to get peppered with targets, 4,700. He's going to be somewhat popular, it looks like, but not really. I think he's a solid play. Over under on this game is 40, so not really that high. The Giants are implied for 22 points in this game, so I do think that there's a path for Wan'Dale to have a good game. But otherwise, kind of an ugly game, so I think it's time to move on. All right, let's go to Jags and Chiefs. This one should be fun. And before I even toss it to you, I'm going back. It's happening. I'm telling you it's happening. Justin Fields has arrived. Trevor Lawrence is on his way. Trevor Lawrence, I'm very much into him this week. Tell me what you think about Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, the Trevor Lawrence, while you're going back, that's – I can't really blame you at his price point at 5,400 in a game where, let's see, the Jags their implied team totals 21 points. They're massive underdogs. They should be playing from behind. He's had some pretty good games this year. He's had a pretty decent floor. This would be a game for him to blow up if he can, manage to not turn the ball over, which is kind of my biggest concern with him in this game. Trying to get back into it, trying to make some aggressive throws that can lead to some turnovers and some more points for Patrick Mahomes. This is a really interesting game. There's a lot of different ways you can go. I think Patrick Mahomes isn't going to be as popular as he should be this week. I think the Chiefs could absolutely dismantle this Jaguars team. This could be a Patrick Mahomes 400-yard, 5-touchdown game, like in the first half. Wouldn't shock me. The only question is how do you stack them on a week-to-week basis? Like Travis Kelce is going to get his targets, but outside of that, it's starting to become more clear, I guess. Juju Smith-Schuster has been getting the bulk of the targets, but when they get in the red zone, they get so weird. Sometimes they're passing it to guys like Jody Fortson or Noah Gray. McCole Hardman's a guy who's been getting a lot of touches inside the red zone. And at 4,500 this week, he is someone I'm probably absolutely going to have a lot of in this game just because of how cheap he is. I think I did read somewhere, though, that he was on the injury report this week, so that'll be something to watch. But yeah, there's so many different pieces of this game that you can get into, including Travis Etienne. The Chiefs have not had the best rush defense this year. They're 25th in the league in adjusted fantasy points allowed to running back. And we know that the way to beat Patrick Mahomes is to keep him off the field, right? The Patriots have proved that several times in the past in the playoffs. So if Travis Etienne can get going, and they can slow the pace of the game, slow down Patrick Mahomes, he could also be a really good option in this game.
Yeah. So like I said, I like Trevor Lawrence. I was reading something earlier. The Chiefs are a solid matchup for quarterbacks. You can see here they rank 30th against pass quarterbacks. So that's notable. Patrick Mahomes is also popping up. Negative leverage, but again, like 50-point total on this game. The Chiefs are projected to score 30 points. Mecole Hardman is the number one receiver in the optimal exposure, so I'm glad we're on the same page with that. Travis Etienne, again, these players are just a little too popular. I think you want to have plenty of exposure to this game, but this is a game where you can get different and still be exposed to this game. I have lost a lot of money on MVS this year, so it's going to be tough for me to play him. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Isaiah Pacheco, and Jerick McKinnon, just for some context, all three of them are getting run. It's a hot hand situation, which we don't love, but just make sure you have some exposure to all three, because if one becomes the guy in this game, he's going to be on the $1 million lineup. I think so. Christian Kirk is kind of taken over as the target hog in that game. A lot of interesting pieces here. No one's going to play Travis Kelce at his price, which I think is foolish. And one play that I'm kind of in on, Kadarius Toney. I don't hate it. I think that they're definitely going to. I think they're definitely going to use him. He's a weapon. All of a sudden, he's miraculously healthy after changing teams. So yeah, I think that I think that there's a really good chance that Kadarius Toney could find the end zone if given the right opportunities. All right, let's move on to Saints and Steelers. Oh, man, I don't like talking about the Steelers. It makes me sad. Go ahead and tell me what you think about this game.
The Steelers are a trash can. I'm sorry, they're so bad this year, Nick. And as a Patriots fan, I'm right there with you. The Patriots offense has been terrible too, so not picking on you. But yeah, the only really pieces of this game I kind of like, Alvin Kamara is popping for me at 7,400. I think he'll be fairly popular this week. He had a kind of a letdown game last week, but I think this is a good bounce back spot for him. Not expected to be a very high scoring game, over under right around 40 points right now. And someone else I'm thinking about who's popping a lot, mostly because of his price, Najee Harris, 5,500. He has not had anything. I don't think he's exceeded 20 points. He's probably been the most disappointing running back in all of fantasy football this year, both in DFS and in season-long leagues. I don't know why he would start to turn it up now, but at his price point, the usage he's getting, he's someone that's hard to ignore. But one kind of bright spot on this offense has been Pat Freiermuth. He's 4,200 this week. He might be someone that I'm interested in. But, you could throw Chris Olave in there at 6,800. He's also been kind of a bright spot on the Saints offense. But overall, I just don't see this as being a great scoring environment. So I probably won't have a ton of exposure to this game. But, I could probably build a few lineups with Alvin Kamara or Pat Freiermuth.
Yeah, so those are the top two guys, according to the optimizer in this game. 40-point total. Close game, it's being projected 20-19 in favor of the Saints. Let's see, is Pittsburgh home or away? I'll get back to you on that. But anyway, I think the Steelers coming out of the bye, I know this might be me just being a homer, but I do think that they might have some good game planning. They lost Chase Claypool, so I don't know that makes the team better, but you're going to see Freiermuth get a little bit more looks, because they came out and said that the reason that they got rid of Claypool is that him and Freiermuth work in the same area of the field, and they like what Freiermuth can do as a tight end. Alvin Kamara is a threat to score 30-plus in any given game. The Steelers are getting TJ Watt back this year, and he says he won't be on a snap count. Not this year, this week. He is going to play. So that's going to cause issues for the passing game, I think. So they might see some quicker dump offs to Alvin Kamara to offset that pass rush. And first time all year, Kenny Pickett's popping in the model. I struggle with that. I do love George Pickens. I love One like off the wall play that I think you might be able to get away with is with the departure of Chase Claypool, Sims, the punt returner, really fast. He gets a lot of designed looks. He definitely could be one of those like 0.1% owned plays that does go off. So there's a couple of interesting, fun ways to approach this game. And I think this is not one that I'm stacking up, but sprinkling in a player here and there at low ownership is a good way, I think, to differentiate your lineups in a smart way. Just because in general, people are just down on both of these teams a little bit. So moving on, we're really going through these games quick, which is good. Good pace here. And then we run into this game. Colts Raiders. Not good. Not good. Tell us what's going on in Indianapolis, man.
Hey, I mean, they made a coaching change, right? That's one positive. They probably can't get any worse. Yeah, I mean,
The thing is Frank Wright's a good coach. I think. I do think that he wasn't the issue. I think his firing is Jim Irsay saying it's time to tank, boys. So sorry for interrupting, but go ahead.
no, you're good. I mean, yeah, I mean, both these teams have been disappointing this season. You have Derek Carr and Devontae Adams come out last week like they're gonna break the slate, and then they just don't show up in the second half of the game. But it could be a bounce back spot for the Raiders here. The Colts defense has not been phenomenal against either the pass or the rush. I kind of like Josh Jacobs in this game. The Colts are 29th in the league in adjusted points allowed to running backs. He's projecting pretty well, and he's at under 10% owned, and he's kind of cheaper than some of the big boys this week. So I like him on the Raiders. I faded Devontae Adams last week and was punished for it. I didn't like him. You did, and he had an unbelievable first half. Even if he didn't do anything in the second half. So he's of course always on the radar, but he's 8,700, so he's going to cost you this week. On the Colts side, no interest. I would fade the entire team. I don't like anybody on the Colts this week.
The optimizer disagrees. We like Paris Campbell. We like Michael Pittman. We like Jonathan Taylor, not a ton, but positive leverage score. I think you might see one player go off in this game. Paris Campbell is very, very popular in the optimizer. 3,900. He's projecting at around 10 points. A few people are going to play him, but not a ton of ownership. They don't even have a play caller. Like, I don't know. It's really tough for me to, I'm kind of with you. We might have to step in here and have a real discussion about these projections a little bit later in the weekend. But
Jonathan Taylor is kind of interesting at 7,500. I mean, he's probably never been this cheap since he was a rookie. Obviously that line has been dreadful, and he's been a little banged up, but he could be at 5% owned. He is someone who he's always potential to break the slate. So that did kind of catch my eye too. I might throw him in a lineup or two to get different.
Yeah. All right. We got two more games here. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time on this game, especially because, like I said, we may not have actual NFL coaches leading the way for the Colts. So next up, we have the Rams and Cardinals. I feel like these guys play every single week. Rams, Cardinals. The Rams are last in the league in yards per play after being fifth just a year ago as Super Bowl champions. An anemic offense. They don't have an offensive line. Allen Robinson is washed. Cooper Kupp is still awesome. Outside of that, nothing doing. Kyler Murray is an absolute head case. He is losing his mind like 3 plays into the game. Doesn't seem to be on the same page as Cliff, but he does have DeAndre Hopkins back. He always ends up getting there somehow, some way. And this week we might find ourselves playing some of the Cardinals. So how do you feel about this game? Where are you looking to get yourself exposed to this game, if at all?
I mean, another game that's projected to be low scoring. I mean, if you had said at the beginning of the season that, when these two teams meet, there's going to be an over-under of 41 points, I think we'd be pretty surprised, but that's just a testament to how disappointing both these two teams have been this season. I'm probably staying away from this game. I'm just not a huge fan of spending up for Cooper Kupp. He's 9,000. He has to score 1 billion points for him to get his worth. He's always a good cash cash game option, but not crazy about him in GPPs. DeAndre Hopkins' price has come up too. He's up to 8,000, but I only have him at around 4% owned. So that does kind of make him an attractive option this week if you wanted to spend up at wide receiver. He could always go off for 10 catches, 100 yards, and a touchdown. Tyler Higbee put up a big fat goose egg last week, and that really screwed me in a lot of really good lineups that I had. So he's kind of on my shit list, but we know players like to regress back to the mean. So he could be a pretty good option this week against the Cardinals, who we know are terrible against tight ends. So those are probably the guys I got my eye on this week.
Yeah, so the two players that are coming up for me again is actually Cooper Kupp. First time all year that he's like really been at the top of the optimal exposure. Considering his price and ownership, it's tough for me to swallow in terms of if I'm actually going to play him as much as it suggests, but we'll see kind of how Sunday looks. And James Conner as well stepped right back into his full-time role. We'll see how long he can stay healthy, but he's the guy there. And just at 6,200, you're not going to get a lot of backs that project the way that he does. So that's kind of where my head's at for those two players. Not really looking at either quarterback in this game. Allen Robinson, I need to see it before I play him. Van Jefferson's interesting because he's someone that can take the top off. If you're going to stack this game up, he's a good bring back because if he scores, it means that the game's probably going to be speeding up because he's a down the field threat. So just keep that in mind. That's one of my favorite ways to do like the stack with a bring back is make sure you pick the streaker. You know what I mean? Instead of like your slot guy or your tight end or whatever, or even a running back. So yeah, so some solid plays there in that game, but again, not too excited at a 40-point over-under unless you think that's going to go way over, which judging by the way the season has gone for those two teams, it's unlikely. All right, this game is a little exciting. We got Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones going into Dallas to play the Cowboys. Anything you like here?
It's funny. This game has been kind of flying under the radar this week. It's not one I've looked at too closely yet, but the Packers' offense has just been awful. And if they didn't get it done against Detroit last week, they're sure as shit not getting it done against this Dallas defense. So if you wanted to make the biggest contrarian play of all time and just stack up this Packers offense, more power to you. But I want no part of it. On the Cowboys side, I mean the Packers defense has been kind of their only strength this year. They've been able to slow teams down at times. I don't know that a lot of players have had big ceiling games against the Packers this year. But I do think Tony Pollard is interesting this week if Ezekiel Elliott doesn't play, but it sounds like he might play this week. Really just a game I'm probably going to fade most of this game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in the same boat, honestly. Not a whole lot of exposure to any of this, but it does really, really like Allen Lazard and Aaron Jones, and I think that's purely from a standpoint of target concentration. That's where the ball's going. Aaron Rodgers does not trust anyone else on that team, and anytime we know where the ball's going, we want to target those players, and it doesn't look like anyone's going to play them in this game. So I have some interest in Allen Lazard, who projects incredibly well this week. Mostly because I think like the Cowboys defense is good, but their corners do give up a lot of pass. I mean, they're about middle of the road against wide receivers. Lazard's not super exciting. But again, when we know where the ball is going, and I guess like I'm not out on Aaron Rodgers yet. I'm actually not going to have any of them according to the optimizer as of right now. But yeah, man, this game, we should be more excited about this game. Like you said, it's flying under the radar. At the beginning of the season, when they drew this game up, there's no way that they thought in their mind that this was going to be flying under the radar. So it's a shame. A lot of offenses are disappointing this year, which is upsetting. But you know what? Each slate is the same amount of money. Doesn't matter how good the teams are. So hopefully we're able to find the right plays. I feel good about this week. In general, how are you feeling about this week?
I feel awful, to be honest with you. Like, I don't really have any plays or games that I love. From the second I ran my projections, ran the optimizer, like the players that were coming up, I just thought were disgusting. I mean, you're talking guys like Trevor Lawrence, Christian Kirk, Alan Lazard. I had some Alan Lazard this week popping up. And just everything is so expensive. All these good wide receivers have finally come up. They're making you pick and choose like who's going to be the big guy this week. So I think this is going to be a really hard week. I think we're going to see some really different top scoring lineups this week.
Yeah, so like for me, like my top leverage player this week is Paris Campbell, and anytime that happens, like you're not gonna feel great. But the second guy down there, and let's go ahead and switch to our full sends because we are coming up on 3:00, and I got to get going here. I'm ready to say my. Are you ready for your full send? Because I'm ready. I'll give you two. You ready for it?
Give me two.
Number one, Tyreek Hill. All right. Again, wow. But I'm going to be playing him a lot this week just because he's so explosive, having a historic season. Basically what we saw from Cooper Kupp last year, but without the touchdowns, which means that it's stable. You can count on it. And he hasn't even really reached his final form yet. So he did get the end zone, but he hasn't had a multi-touchdown game in weeks. And I mean, I'm just going to keep betting on this guy until I can't anymore because he's 10-5, you know, but at 9,100, I think he's still underpriced. I think he's underplayed at 18%. And I really, really like the matchup this week for Tyreek Hill. So that's my first flag plant, my first full send for you.
Who else you got?
I mean, this one's a bit of a homework pick, but I really do like Pat Freiermuth against the Saints. I think that offense is going to come out maybe a little bit more willing to push the ball down the field. See what you got in Kenny Pickett, because we might have a shot at one of these good quarterbacks that are coming out. And if Kenny can't execute a game plan where they're pushing the ball downfield, where Pat Freiermuth can win in the intermediate level and down the field, I look for Pat Freiermuth to be a nice security blanket for Kenny Pickett this week. So those are my two flag plants. One's pretty popular. The other one, not so much. What do you think?
I think regardless of who starts at quarterback in the Minnesota-Buffalo game, I think I'm going to roll with Stephon Diggs. I just kind of it might be a trap or a sucker bet to think that, you know, Case Keenum's just going to step back in and they're going to have the chemistry and rapport they had when they were in Minnesota. But that Bills offense is still good, even if it's Case Keenum in there. And I do think he will pepper Stephon Diggs with targets. And also be a Case Keenum revenge game for both of them, I guess, right? I didn't even think of that. Playing against the Vikings, you got that narrative too. If Case Keenum plays, Case Keenum.
Well, yeah, I think the double revenge game. Also, we missed last night. I missed last night because Donta Foreman revenge game against Atlanta. We got to start calling that out. I haven't seen a double revenge game stack, so that actually seems just like lock that in, and I mean just print money. So I'm with you there. I mean, Stephon Diggs. Is he coming up a lot for you in the projection models and the optimizer models? Because he's not for me.
I haven't run a whole lot. He isn't coming up in like my top 10 optimals because they've been so high on spending up at running back. They're spending down at wide receiver. So he's someone I'll probably have to force in and build some core plays around. But someone who is popping up in my optimizer, and he would probably be my other lock of the week that we talked about earlier, is Amari Cooper. I think the Browns are going to be trailing the Dolphins. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, and he's one of the leading wide receivers in fantasy points this year too. I'm not sure where he ranks. I want to say he's at least top 10. He's a wide receiver one for sure. And at his price point this week, I think he was 6,500. He's one of the cheaper options you're going to get for guys who have 30-point upside this week.
Yeah. I'm not getting a ton of him either, so we'll see if that changes as the week goes on. But if I'm going to be playing a lot of Tyreek, I should probably be playing a lot of Amari Cooper as well. So
it's a great base stack.
Yeah. All right, Rob. Well, I got to get going. This was fun. I think we're starting to hit our stride here. We got to iron out some of these statistics stuff. I was kind of last minute on some stuff, but look out for that player pool. Check out Gridiron AI on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. All the handles are right up there for you. Check out Rob at RobMeg4591. We're posting optimals on all of these channels and they're crushing. Like you're up if you've played every single optimal we've recommended this week or
Free
this
money.
year. What's that? Yeah, it's free money, free money. And eventually, if we do get big enough, like we have to stop because it's against the terms of service to share optimals. But we're men of the people, and we'll go to jail for you if we have to.
That's when we'll know
get
we've made
paid.
it. Is when DraftKings sends us an Astigram.
Yes, yes. So when we get a cease and desist from DraftKings, we'll just move over to FanDuel, rinse and repeat until we're not allowed to play fantasy football anymore. So that'll be a sad, sad day. But by then, we'll be millionaires, so it won't matter. All right. Have a good weekend, everybody. Have a good weekend, Rob. Thanks for joining us. And good luck on Sunday. Later, everybody.
See you, Nick.
Yeah, in the broadcast. Okay.